why wait to bring on our guests any longer? We've been on for about 10 minutes here, so we might as well bring on our guys. We've got, let me see, how much can I really roll this out and create the anticipation for everyone? Let's see what I can do. So there's a little fan film called It's Me, Billy that came out a few years ago, and it's got a follow-up coming out. Gosh, in 9 days on October 11th. Forget Terrifier 3. Hop on YouTube for free and watch It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. You're not going to want to miss it. If you're in the chat hanging out with us right now, or if you're watching after the fact, I have no doubt that you are a Black Christmas fan and you know exactly what these guys are all about. So let's go ahead and bring in the co-writers and co-directors of It's Me, Billy and It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. Bruce Dale and Dave McRae. What's happening, guys? Great to see you.
Hey, what's going on? That was a dope intro, man.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild. Thank you, Davey. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Great to be here.
Hell yeah. Thank you for carving out some time. I know you guys are, I would imagine, racing to the finish here to, tie any loose ends up on the production. How is post-production going? Are you guys at a spot where you've seen the final film yet, or are you still a few days away?
I'm going to say yes to both questions. So we got it locked in. We're super excited, super happy with the cut. Dave's done an amazing job with the sound. Our DP, Greg Bennett, shout out to him. He just finished doing the color grading, and we're just putting some finishing touches, some final tweaks on it all to get it ready for October 11th. So yeah. In fact, we just linked up last night, watched the whole thing through. And I just got to say it was super cool to kind of finally see it all as one, so yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, no, I agree. It's, we're in that stage now where we're fine tuning things, little tweaks, little things, little fine tuning here and there that probably the average person won't notice, but but we notice, and we know that they're there, or that things shouldn't be there, or things should be there, little nice fine kind of tuning stuff that really gets into the nitty gritty. But it's looking good. I mean, it's exciting to see it come together.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would imagine, because you're doing the sound design and everything, Dave, is that right?
I am. Yes. Yeah, I am.
I would imagine, coming from my experience of doing audio, I could sit and obsess over is the snare drum half a decibel too quiet? I could sit there for hours and be like, oh, is that one moment, is it too subtle, or is it too out there in your face? Are you kind of, when you're going through putting everything together on the film, are you finding those moments where you're like, oh, is that too shocking, or is it too,
Well, that's actually a great segue into what we're sort of working on at the moment, which is sort of dealing with YouTube's continuous change of how they compress their content. So, we all know that because of the volume of videos that YouTube receives every day, they have, I don't know if they're in the trillions of uploads over the course of their entire existence now. I don't know, but certainly there's billions and billions of videos that are across, the platform, and they will compress the image. They have to do that in order to be able to save space, so to speak. And they do compress the audio. And so one of the things we're dealing with now is making sure that, the audio sounds the way it should in our timeline. It sounds at least as close to that on YouTube. And there's a few things, we've run some tests, and there are a few things are like, oh, that's a little different. Let's see if we can noodle that a bit, or make sure it's, as best as we can. Right. I mean, YouTube really isn't the platform for finished, professional films, right? That's why films usually don't finish on YouTube. And so you're always working against that, and trying to make sure that things look as good as it possibly can on YouTube. Vimeo, of course, doesn't compress as much. It is a better, so we always say that if you're going to watch it on a big TV or a big projection screen or whatever it is, watch it on Vimeo. Because the sound will be better. Not that, again, to the average person, you're probably not going to notice anything, but in terms of like, if you're going to watch it on a big TV or a projection screen, because some people have them, right? They have these big screens in their basements, or they have like a projector instead of a TV or whatever the case is. Watch it on Vimeo, because that's where the image will be less compressed and the audio will be less compressed. If you're watching it on your phone or your tablet or your, laptop or, whatever the case is, YouTube is perfectly fine. Absolutely fine. But yeah, those are the things every filmmaker will tell you, that when they're about to finish and put their product on YouTube, they spend probably a whole week going through tests and making sure, okay, what's the best codec for this? Oh, no, maybe we should do this codec, or maybe we should do this, or maybe we should do that, and all that kind of stuff. And, so that's kind of where we are at the moment, trying to give you the best possible product we can on YouTube. So it can be a bit tricky, but it's fun. It's you're pulling your hair out, but it's fun.
Yeah, so you probably have like this is the edit that's going to go on the Blu-ray, and then here's the edit that has to go on YouTube, and
that's it.
You have to play with their their parameters and everything.
That's right. Because the file that's going to go on YouTube will be compressed. The file that'll be on Blu-ray will be, it will be compressed in the sense of that we can't render out a uncompressed file. It'll be like probably a terabyte, or 10 terabytes, which would be way too big for a Blu-ray. But it will be a far less compressed image. It'll be true, to HD. So so it's tricky. Like I said, it's interesting to be able to work with that and try to make sure that your audience is seeing the best possible thing. So but yes, there's versions for the Blu-ray, version for YouTube, version for film festivals, version for Vimeo, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
And so you guys are kind of going at this from sort of like a DIY, like a do-it-yourself sort of foundation, right? I mean, you guys have known each other for years, since you guys were kids, right? You guys have been buddies. And so Bruce, with your what did you grow up loving? Were you a horror kid growing up, or was that something that Dave sort of brought you into? Because I know that's Dave has the platform to sort of talk a lot. So I wanted to sort of give you a little bit of a voice to be like, share a little bit about where you come from as a film fan. What got you so passionate about it that you're like, I have to do this. Like, I have to make movies because I love this so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, great question. I've always loved movies, always loved entertainment. Funny enough, when I was younger, I actually wanted to be an animator, right? And I had this dream of like working for Don Bluth or Disney or, some major animation studio. And I had applied to Sheridan College. I don't know if folks are familiar with it, but in Canada, it's one of the leading, colleges for wanting to do that, right? And I had this dream that I wanted to go there and do all that stuff. And that's like when I was really young. I drew my own comic books and kind of did all that sort of stuff. And still to this day, I still draw, paint, do all that kind of stuff. But actually, it's when I met Dave, when we met in like grade school, that I kind of caught the film bug. I always loved movies, and in particular, I've always loved like science fiction, fantasy, adventure, and that's actually my favorite genre. And then, Dave kind of got me onto horror, but at the same time, I also loved like Nightmare on Elm Street. That was one of my favorites growing up in terms of horror movies. Yeah, the Friday the 13th franchise, watched those. You name it. Yeah. First time I watched Halloween, I think was with Dave, because I just wasn't aware of it. And then, but I watched all kinds of other stuff, and so I've kind of loved it all. And then, when we met, I caught the film bug because we just ended up creating movies together. We would do like spec commercials. I remember one time we did, so there were two in particular. I remember one He was like a take on Michael Jackson's Thriller. And of course, I'm like kicking it like in grade 8 with like this little Jerry curl and all that kind of, and I'm like, we're filming this thing in my house, and like I'm coming down the stairs and like lip syncing to Vincent Price as he's doing his thing.
Isn't it crazy to think that Thriller wasn't even 10 years old when we did that?
Yeah. It was, and it was such like, MJ was one of my favorites growing up in terms of music artists, at the time. And then, and then, we do other things like making, almost like 45-minute films, 60-minute films. And I think we pretty much did every genre. We did like a science fiction piece. We did a trilogy, a horror trilogy, called The Night He Came Back. And that was kind of inspired by the original Halloween. And then, we did a bunch of stuff. We did like a Secret Agents movie. We had like these fake air pistols, right? And one of my dad's friends had hooked us up with those, and we like drove different areas of the city that we lived in, getting shots of this and that, and whatever, film shots, not like gunshots, but and it was great. Like, like every year we had something, just a different project that we were doing. So yeah, I think by the time I got to university and I was doing like film studies, I found myself able to catch on to a lot of concepts a lot easier and quicker because of all the stuff Dave and I did together growing up. Because there was a lot of stuff, like you said, even to this day, we're like very grassroots, right? And so, we both have, the full set of skills. We're both capable of, doing everything. But, we also have strengths in certain areas. And so we play to those and we complement each other that way. It's cool. It's really cool. And so it's kind of always been like that. And as independent filmmakers, you have to bring your full set of tools and skills to the table to make anything. Particularly in Canada, I think it's the same in the US, but there's definitely more funding opportunities in the US, I think, in comparison to Canada.
Yeah.
Historically speaking.
Gotcha. Well, and then what's nice is you get to kind of like, you build creativity when it's just the two of you making movies when you're, in middle school and high school, right? So you figure out creative solutions to problems that I'm sure, help you out when you're on a production with a professional crew shooting It's Me, Billy and the follow-up, And I would imagine as well, it sounds like the project sort of started out with, at least with It's Me, Billy, this was something, Dave, that you had suggested because, you guys were looking for like, what's a way that we can create something that's connected to an existing IP, but let's not go for like the lowest hanging fruit. Let's reach for something that's like Canadian, something that's a little more like has that mood and atmosphere that you're talking about all the time. What was that like to the mood and atmosphere? I love it. I love it so much. Everyone loves it, right?
Somewhere on my
body. You got to get a t-shirt or something. Yeah.
T-shirt.
Yeah. We got to sell shirts, man. Yeah.
That's it. So I should.
What was that conversation like with Bruce? Sort of like the whole, like, I'm going to bring you over to my side, like the pitch that you gave him. And then once he like bit on that pitch, what was the first like, shoe that you knew had to drop on like the story? Or did you already have that when you approached him with the idea?
Yeah, so good questions. So it really came down to and I've mentioned this before, but it's on other podcasts, but it's true. It's in 2019 I had turned 40, and at that time I had spent nearly 20 years in the entertainment business as a professional voice actor. That's my day-to-day job. That's where I've spent most of my time in the entertainment business. But I went to film school, and my first love is movies, as Bruce will tell you. And so I've always, and I've worked on set, and I've made some small shorts here or there, but nothing that would have been, in my mind anyway, considered professional. You know what I mean? And when I turned 40, I thought to myself, there are guys 27 making theatrically released Hollywood movies. And I thought, if I'm going to make a go at this, I'm not old, but I'm not young. I was 40, and I was like, I really got to make a go at this. And Bruce, of course, has worked in the entertainment biz for a long time on the education side of things, and we have developed a lot of resources and connections at the professional level. And I thought, let's really make a go at this, but I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. And I wanted to do something that was comfortable in the sense of that sort of gave us a leg up already in terms of interest, in terms of popularity, in terms of sort of a bit of cachet. But I didn't want to go for Halloween or Friday the 13th or A Nightmare on Elm Street, primarily because Halloween, I knew I wanted to shoot something that was pro. And Trancas and Universal, there's no way. I mean, if we had released a trailer to a Halloween fan film that looked like Billy, we'd be shut down before it was, you know what I mean? They tend to shut down a lot. Friday the 13th, Vincent DeSanti has that locked up like it's nobody's business. Cecil was working on Freddy. So, I didn't want to do that. And I just sat down one night and I watched Black Christmas, not because of I was thinking about it, but because I hadn't seen the movie in a while. And I had watched it and I'm watching it and it ends. And if you've seen the movie, then, you all know that it's got one of the greatest endings in all of horror. And it doesn't need a sequel. I'll be the first to tell you that. But I sat there and I thought, oh, Black Christmas. Hey, it's a Canadian movie shot in Toronto with a large Canadian cast. We're Canadian filmmakers based in Toronto. There's never been a sequel. There's been 2 remakes in 06 and 19, but never a sequel. And I thought, I wonder, like, what if maybe that would be that might help us out too in the film industry here in Canada, right? People know about it and, that might be interesting. We could talk to people and, and Bruce, I'll tell you, I mean, with his job, he's met the, the camera operator that worked on that film. And so, it's beloved here in Canada, even though it's still kind of niche here too a little bit because it never spawned a franchise. Anyway, so Bruce came over one day and we were chatting and I said, I pitched him the idea and Bruce wasn't crazy on it at first. He thought, oh no, Black Christmas. Really? You want to do that? And I was like, well, and then I said, here's what I want to do. Here's what I imagine us doing. Like doing it totally, not like how I mean like full on as if we were doing any other original piece, we're doing it totally pro. And Bruce was like, I don't know. And Bruce at that time hadn't seen the original film. So we sat down and we watched it. He'd heard of it, of course. He knew all about it. But hadn't seen it yet, hadn't taken time to see it. So we sat down and we watched it. And by the end of the movie, Bruce got it. He understood what I was going for, why I wanted to do it, saw the opportunity there, and where we could do something that was really special for one of the most important Canadian movies of all time, one of the most influential horror films, whether you're Canadian, American, or it doesn't matter. It's one of the most influential and important horror films of all time. And it just so happens to be Canadian and we're Canadian. And so there's a romanticism about it. There's, something fun there. So we get to do something for Black Christmas and to anybody who had ever been a part of it. And we get to sort of step into roles and flex our muscles in a less demanding sort of project that there isn't, we are the producers, we are the studio for all intents and purposes, right? So it's a little less intimidating and demanding on that front, because we're not having to, the deadlines are our own deadlines, so to speak, right? So it was just sort of let's do this first, and then if we're successful at it and everybody loves it, and hey, we're pretty darn good, then let's move on to original stuff and whatnot. Anyway, talked a lot, of course, but that is how it all sort of came to be.
Yeah, I think it even like sort of reinvigorates, like right here, Liana's like, I watched Black Christmas because of Dave. So I
Mhm.
think like the fact that you guys, you know, and maybe that was before the project was getting going, but even then it's like this is an opportunity for another generation to just even learn that a film exists that still is, you know,
Yeah.
niche, but really, really damn good. Like, you know, we were talking a little bit, I think, you know, Bruce and I, we were talking a little bit before the show, and it's one of those movies where I revisit this one, you know, every year it gets better and better, seems like to me,
Mhm.
and creepier and creepier. So I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I think that you capture, there's just a familiar, like the way you guys have gone about it looks familiar, it looks akin to the original. You know, you
Mm.
can
Cool.
tell that it is something that is, you know, it's a legacy sequel essentially.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I do love that you guys are capturing the vibe, that it's, you know, modernized as far as technology goes,
Mhm.
but not necessarily as far as like the filmmaking style goes. And I think that really like lends itself well to what you want to accomplish. And I mean, that's in the writing, and that's also in how you guys approach what you do. And you guys, you know, you had mentioned Greg Bennett. You guys have a fantastic crew working there, and you got
Mhm.
to bring everybody, pretty much everybody, back for the sequel. Even one of the actresses, right, came back to do makeup this time around.
Yeah, Shelby Handley. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Shelby. Yeah, she was fantastic. She was Emma in chapter one. Yeah, and she came back to do hair and makeup, and many other things as well. She was super
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
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 And so, Bruce, how many times have you revisited the original Black Christmas since watching it with Dave those years back?
Well, I would say I've probably watched it all the way through about 3 times, and then I've referenced specific parts of it, either when I've been with Dave, where we've been referencing it as part of a production meeting or, during a
Mm-hmm.
writing session, whatever it might be. And then on my own, I've referenced it, again, if I'm editing something, if I'm, cutting together the BTS, um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a shot for chapter 2 that I put together, and it was a combined effort. Me and Dave and Greg went out to go shoot the footage well after the main unit shoot was done, and we had
Mm-hmm.
captured some additional footage. I'm not going to give anything away, but I'll just say that I think fans are going to dig it, and I think they're going to find it a lot of fun. And it's another example of a moment where I had to go back to the original, because I just needed that reference. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
There's something so warm about the way Bob Clark would, you know, make a film. Like, I know that he's not the one, you know, necessarily shooting it, but it seems like all of his films just have that kind of warmth to them. You know, and the Christmas look in the original Black Christmas is great. I love that you
Mhm.
guys captured that with your, you know, even just the lighting in certain shots. The Of course the use of the Christmas lights and everything like that is great. And so what was, when you guys like, you know, had the genesis of this idea, what was the first thing where you were like, we need to figure out blank? Like, what was the first thing where you're like, you know, this is something that we want to do, but what story do we want to tell? Like, what was the first piece that fell into place for you guys?
Yeah, that was what we like to call, you know, yeah, we needed our endpoint. We needed to crack the code, we used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because Black Christmas has an ambiguous ending. Although for some fans, they feel it's not ambiguous. Because if you do
Mm-hmm.
pay attention, there is an argument to be made that Jess Bradford died.
Mm-hmm.
And that argument is, even though you don't know, is that after every kill, Billy makes a phone call.
Mhm.
And John Saxon's character references that in the end when Olivia Hussey is unconscious and sedated. And I don't think you see him speak it, but I think you hear him,
Mhm.
because he's in the room. And he says something like, yeah, you made a, phone call after every kill or something like that. And then, of course, as the camera is pulling away from the house,
Mm-hmm.
you hear the phone begin to ring. And
Mhm.
so there is enough circumstantial evidence to suggest that, well, that's telling us that, he got Jess. He got Jess.
Mhm.
And a lot of hardcore. I've been met with a lot of resistance on this. A lot of hardcore Black Christmas fans. There are not as many crazy Black Christmas fans as there are Halloween fans, but there are some so crazy Black Christmas fans out there. And they have said that one of the reasons why they don't like what we've done is simply because they just cannot in their own minds look
Mhm.
past the fact that they truly believe that Jess Bradford died. And so they don't bother to watch our movie. They can't watch it, or they do watch it and they recognize, that it's well made, or, well produced, and, all that kind of stuff. But they just can't get past the fact that it exists.
Mhm.
They're just
Yeah.
like, I just can't like your movie, and that's fair. That's totally fair, right? That's art. But the only thing I'll say to that is even Bob Clark, the director of the movie, some years later had toyed around with the idea of doing a direct sequel to the original film, where he brought Olivia Hussey back to play the house mother this time around. Now, this is obviously, late 90s, early 2000s. There was some talk of maybe of that potentiality. I think it was probably before the 2006 movie, because then then the 06 movie just ended up being what it was, which was a complete remake. But there was some discussions. I don't know if Bob Clark had talked to Olivia about it or not, but he had mentioned that it was a possibility. So even Bob Clark had acknowledged that, you know what I mean? So it wasn't definitive. It can be, like, there's an argument to be made, but we needed to crack the code. And so that's the first thing I'll say. And then we thought, well, what are we going to do? Like, we don't just want to do the same thing over again. We want to progress the story. And it makes sense for budgetary reasons. We didn't want to set a sequel in the 70s because, we're indie filmmakers, and that's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because your set deck and everything, I mean, from hairstyles to clothing to cars to signs to, everything has to look like it's 1975 or whatever. And so we just couldn't afford that. So we decided to, we realized that she was pregnant. And what if she kept the baby? That was it. That was really it. We said to ourselves, what if she kept the baby? What if this night that everything she went through, she survived, and she did want to have an abortion, which was very risque at that time, especially. And so that's sort of the political sort of, not political, but the social commentary, the subtext of that, of that film. And we thought, what if she kept it? Because of what she went through. She saw it as maybe I'm supposed to keep this thing.
Like a sign,
This thing, this baby, this thing. Maybe I'm supposed to keep this thing.
That's how us men think about it. Yeah.
Keep this thing.
This damn thing.
That's right. But so that was our in. And then, of course, we're setting it 50 years later. So, we knew that the girl that we wanted to have wouldn't be the daughter, it would be the granddaughter. And so that was kind of the hook. And then once we figured that out, we were off to the races.
Yeah. All the other pieces kind of fell into place.
That's right.
And then we just needed that jump point,
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And so it's one of those things where, we're seeing this legacy sequel. We're bringing, Billy back. For all of you who haven't seen the first chapter yet, we know that Agnes is hanging around as well. So, that's another character that gets some play here that's, just mentioned in the first film. So now we've got some sort of duo, and I guess that'll be some of the mystery of chapter 2, is figuring out what that dynamic is like. And I'm really interested in that. And especially, Billy looks so friggin' creepy in the teaser trailer that you guys dropped.
Cool.
Really freaks me out. And Dave, you're providing the voice for Billy. Now, everyone does know you. Have you gotten into voice acting? Everyone does know you as a voice actor. But is that something that, was it a challenge because Black Christmas is near and dear to you and because the vocal performance is so wild? Or is it something that, like, just like how maybe Jess was meant to hang on to the baby, like you were meant to voice Billy at some point because your career sort of got you ready for that? And then how much of it is you know, what do you do in the studio to help maybe enhance that performance, if anything at all?
Yeah, so it was very easy to slip into the role. You know, I referenced a lot of sort of the style and the cadence that he would do in the original film. So there was connective tissue there, so
Mhm.
it made sense. But we're doing a sequel, right? There are some people that will reach out and and I get it. You know, they'll say, "Oh, I don't like this," or "I don't like that," or "like this," or "like that." It's like, yeah, but so with the character of Billy, and Bruce can back me up on this and chime in where he sees fit. One of the things that we wanted to do is, because we're doing a sequel and we're setting it 50 years later, the character of Billy is very important, of course, and
Mhm.
the ambiguity and the anonymity of that character is extremely important.
Mhm.
I mean, well, you do. I mean, you know, I mean, as ambiguous as Michael Myers is, you
Yeah.
know more about him than you do Billy. And so nobody knows anything about Billy. So we wanted to preserve that, but this is also a sequel. And we didn't
Mhm.
want to just do the same thing over again. So how do we progress that character forward
Mhm.
without giving him away, without showing any kind of backstory and things like that? So one of the things was his appearance.
Mhm.
And obviously you're set 50 years later. We liked, you know, the long hair and the unkept sort of clothes and, you know, things like that. Clothing, excuse me.
Mhm.
And with Brian Charles Peter, who played Billy in both films, you know, we decided to, you know, one of the criticisms we got on chapter one was people would say, well, I didn't like that you showed Billy. Well, that's a bit of a blanket statement, right? Because what does that mean?
Mhm.
Show Billy? We didn't show his face, right?
Yeah.
What they really mean is I don't like seeing his body, because in the
Mm.
original it's always POV, silhouettes, things like that. But this is a sequel. And we didn't want to
Mhm.
just do the same thing. So how do we progress that character forward
Mhm.
without, you know what I mean? So we decided to show him from an objective point of view. So an example, in the original film, you see his tantrum in the attic from his POV.
Mhm.
In Billy chapter one, you see his tantrum from the attic from a distance. Now it's a little, you know, it's objective. He's in dimly lit light, his face is in shadow, but you're seeing it from, so that's a progression of the character, right? For the
Mhm.
audience,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And then another way was the phone calls. You know, some people were like, you know, your phone calls sound great, but they sound like they're more crazy, or they're overlapping on each other. It's like, yeah, that's right, because it's been 50 years and he hasn't gotten help, and his mental health has declined, and psychologically, sociologically, I mean, he's I mean, if he was crazy in 1974, imagine what he would be in 2024.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
where
that
would
was
that
always a big part
cognitive
of the
be?
conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 'cause you know, and not just with Billy, but I think every aspect of the story, all of the different characters, it was
Yeah.
about, um, you know, like Dave said, we had to set it in present day, and a large part of that is budgetary reasons, and fair enough. But I think people would want a modern story, and like you said earlier, we wanted to strike that balance between, we wanted to make sure that the film lived in the same universe, that when
Mhm.
people watch it, they feel like, yeah, this tastes and feels like, smells like, you know, like it is a true sequel to the original. But using modern technology to film it, modern filmmaking styles, but we have purposely chosen 1970s style filmmaking with particular shots, certain ways
Mhm.
that we might, certain ways that we might edit something, um, certain ways we might go about something. And so that those are some of the subtleties that help give it connective tissue, and stuff that the audience may not consciously recognize. Some will, some won't. That's fine.
Mhm.
But those are some of the tools that filmmakers are always using, right? Of course, to connect things. And you know, to Dave's point, yeah, you know, folks will sometimes get upset that, you know, they feel like we reveal too much, or yeah, I didn't want to see him, you know, like Dave's saying. And I'm very much of the mind, and I think, you know, Dave is too, where, you know, how do I put it? It's like, uh, you know, if you're going to expand a character, and you're going to have to take some risks as a filmmaker, as a
Mhm.
storyteller. But I do believe that you can take risks that are in poor taste, and you can take risks that are in good taste taste is a subjective thing, of course.
Absolutely.
However, I think most people could probably say that, you know, you do your best to aim for good taste in your choice according to the IP. And so we spent a large amount of time discussing at every step how best to execute this. How do we want to see this character? And that we don't want to see his face ever. But like, you know, the shot in the attic, our direction to our DP and to anybody there was, we want the camera set up low. We want to be a certain distance from him. And once he has his tirade, we want to back out and we want to track back with the camera. And our point to, you know, Brian when we were directing, but also to Greg, because at that point we wanted the camera to serve as more the POV of the audience for all intents and purposes. But we wanted to put the audience in a position where they feel like they just walked into something at the wrong moment, the wrong time. They are somewhere they should not be, and they stumbled upon something that is freaky, scary, and they're like, "Shit, I got to get out of here." You know,
like
and
Homer Simpson backing into the bush.
yeah, and they're just like, "Oh, I got to get out of here. This is really uncomfortable," but they're waiting for their moment to leave. And so, you know, when we're making a film, we're really thinking to that detail with a lot of different things. And so there's a lot of discussion, a lot of prep ahead of time, a lot of discussion on set, you know, and we're learning and growing through that process as well. But I think, you know, with chapter 2, we elevated that, we pushed things further. And I'm, you know, I know we're very excited about the choices that we made, but again, we did our best to make the choices in good taste that honor and respect the characters, that respect the story. And we kind of hope that, you know, even if people are like, yeah, you know, she should have not have kept the baby, and we can't imagine watching a sequel, hopefully they can watch the film even just as a standalone piece, you know, just if they're a horror fan and they like horror movies, at least watch it just from that point of view. And you might actually enjoy it if you just kind of change your frame of mind or look at it from a different point of view.
Well, and I also take it as a compliment as well. When somebody says, no, I can't watch your movie because I think that's just a testament to the quality of the product that we're delivering. Because I think if we had delivered you know, if we were in our backyard on our, you know, 8mm camcorder with our, you know, with our friends, I think they could watch that movie no problem. I think because we're delivering a professional product, even though we're not official, we're unofficial because we, you know, don't own the intellectual property, but we're still delivering professional work. And I think there's an illusion that is created for the viewer. They watch it and they go, but this feels, you know, feels real, right?
Yeah,
you know, they go, this doesn't.
Real. Yeah.
So I think it tricks them into thinking it is. Well, I mean, it is, but it tricks them into thinking that that it is canon. And I think that's, you know, because I don't think I don't think anybody would be afraid to watch a poor quality film because psychologically they would get past it, right? So I think watching our film, they feel, no, this feels too real in a lot of ways for them. So. But I agree with everything you know, that Bruce said, and Billy's, and so like the phone calls again was just a matter of mirroring what was done in the original, but taking it to the next level, and being more intense, and you know, the overlapping is on purpose because this is the representation of where his mind is now. In the original film, you might have a bit more separation between the voices. In our film, in the first chapter, we wanted to show that now it's just like, what is this? I mean, this is like, it doesn't even, you know,
complete break.
Right. Because that's the progression psychologically of the character. Right. And where he hasn't received help. He just, I mean, where would he be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where he would be. And so no decision was arbitrarily made. We had long discussions about this kind of stuff. So,
and that's got to be one of the cool things about you guys working together on it, you know, working with somebody that you've been friends with for so long, is that you can kind of check each other and you can, you know, check the temperature, you know, on something like, hey, I'm thinking this sort of thing because of this, like, how does that sound? And you know, have that accountability. You know, I can only imagine what it's like with you know, a filmmaker that it's only them and then the producers, you know, interfering. But for you guys, that benefit of working together. And it is, you know, it's so funny. I do think it's funny with horror fans because holy crap, if there's any genre that has broken timelines like up the ass, it's horror. Like everywhere you turn, Friday the 13th doesn't make any sense after like the fourth movie or whatever. Halloween is like literally a choose your own adventure. I mean, when David Gordon Green came out, nobody freaked out and was like, oh, they're going to erase all the other movies. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that did, but there wasn't this resounding like, I can't watch Halloween.
Horror fans are very forgiving.
But then when it comes to something like Black Christmas, I mean, I've spoken with somebody that was like, yeah, I haven't watched it yet because I just, you know, the way the movie ends, and I'm like, look, you got to give it a shot. I'm like, I hear you, and I totally see the route that like she doesn't even make it out of that movie alive. I get it that it's like a dark ending or whatever. And I'm like, you just gotta like, you know, this is just a legacy sequel that's just a kind of acts as a what if as well to that, you know. So it's not something that's like, gosh darn it, we're setting it in stone and this is, you know, this is the way it all worked out. And I do appreciate, you know, what you guys are saying about Billy and everything, and just updating every aspect of the, you know, the story. Is it's kind of like after they did Jaws and they went back to do Jaws 2, Jeanette Swark was like, I can't keep the shark in hiding. We have to show the shark. We already popped that bubble in the first movie. So it is sort of like, of course you want to see a little bit more. And it doesn't, at least in my estimation, I'm kind of a picky guy. Like to me, it doesn't ruin any mystery. It actually makes me like more interested. It's kind of like, you know, the way Michael was, I felt in David Gordon Green's Halloween 2018, I felt like it was the most interesting he had been since the first film. Like I'm just following him. And I feel like very much so with Billy and It's Me, Billy, you know, just completely interesting. And seeing him a little bit in that teaser trailer, I mean, man, it's I think it's a great looking interpretation. I can't wait to see how the story plays out with the follow-up and how this conclusion wraps up. I have so much trust in you guys because I've been watching Dave for like 7 years now. And Dave is not only, you know, involved in the business and technically knows what he's talking about when it comes to writing, but such a knowledgeable fan as well. So I think it's like you guys are coming into this, it's the blending of like the perfect just the perfect storm, or the perfect equation for somebody to take on, or, you know, for a crew to take on a project like Black Christmas. And it's coming out. You guys are releasing the conclusion on the 50th anniversary of the original, regardless of what other people try to say, because the original did come out in Canada on October 11th. You know, I'll save you from having to say it, Dave.
I know. There will likely be. Yes. It first was released in Canada on Friday, October 11th, 1974, and it was released in the U.S. in December of 74. But yeah, no, it's and that again, that's the poetry. That's sort of the, you know, what we wanted to do to sort of wrap this whole thing up. You know, I just wanted to piggyback off of something that Bruce said, because he's absolutely right. It is, you know, it's about, you know, when you progress a character forward, it's about honoring, because it was such a good point. You know, there's a difference between, you know, handling a character poorly and handling a character with respect. You may not agree with the creative decisions, but at least the character was handled with respect, and you can see the intention behind it. And with care what they're doing. I mean, it's not like in Billy we had Brian show up at the front door as, you know, pretending to be somebody else, and you saw his face, and he came and he sat down, he had a coffee with somebody, and that, you know what I'm saying, had nothing to do with that, right? That would have been handling the character poorly.
And that was, you have to, as a filmmaker, because we both get really frustrated, and even other franchises, when they make dumb choices with certain things. And you have to, like, when someone else has started the piece and you're picking up where they left off, you've really got to examine the existing character. You've got to look at the existing story. You have to look at all the clues and the pieces, the bricks, the foundation that's been laid, and then respect that. You don't, like, I believe as a filmmaker, to a certain extent, like I'll use television series as an example, or even like the Star Wars saga as an example, right? there are certain things that have been established and created that I think you have a responsibility as a content creator. If you are hired to take on and join that universe and build something,
Yeah.
you can grow things and evolve things, but you've got to do it tastefully, but maintain the same vein and flavor and feeling and vibe of the IP, because that, you have to remember that that's what fans loved in the beginning. We can't be afraid of growth with the story or of characters. I think, again, as long as we're doing our best to make good choices that we care about, because we care about the characters, we care about the IP. We want people to have fun watching it and get excited about it, and walk away going, "Shit, that was dope!" Like, damn, I gotta watch that again. And it's so we apply that same value when we're creating this, and yeah. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
I wish that were true with Star Wars. God, I wish it were
yes,
true.
Yes. Well,
because I'm a massive fan, but I feel like I've been pushed out at this point where it's like,
Same.
whoa, we're like throwing like the guy that put this all together, George Lucas, we're now saying that he like wasn't that great and that his ideas aren't awesome. Like, wait, what?
Well,
what?
it's about
Yeah.
there are rules that are established, and like Bruce said, it's not that you can't bend them or hey, have fun in it, but you have to play within a certain sandbox, right? Jason Voorhees can't show up with a pumpkin mask on, right? I mean, there are certain rules that have been established, and so it doesn't you can't be the fourth person in and start to be avant-garde. It's if you want to be avant-garde, then you set the table. That's what you do.
Create something original, something different.
Right. And then let others come in after you. But if you're for myself and Bruce, we are the second people in to Black Christmas. So now we might have a little more creative freedom than, say, the average person who might be stepping in, like, say, David Gordon Green, because there was never a franchise that was really established with I mean, there were 2 remakes in 06 and 19, but Black Christmas never spawned a sequel. So it never embedded itself into the pop culture like Freddy, Jason, and Michael. So, which is one of the reasons why it's more under the radar and it's niche. It's also a Christmas horror movie, so it's very seasonal. It really only gets buzz and talked about starting November 1st, and then it stops January 1st. You know what I mean? And it's not really talked about or watched in, May, right? And so it's niche in that regard. And it's popular with those who it's popular with, and it's getting more and more popular, but it's not at the same level as Freddy, Jason, or Michael. So, so we do have a little bit of creative wiggle room there that we wouldn't have had if we were doing Freddy. But there are rules. There's a sandbox that was created, which is why we watched the original film. And this is the table. This is how the table's been set. Now, how can we take this and elevate it further? While still preserving the DNA, and not insulting the intelligence of the viewer or the fans. And I think we've done that. So,
yeah, I absolutely agree. And even with the Black Christmas 06 remake has elements about it that I do enjoy, but Billy for me just really doesn't work. And I know that Bob Clark was involved on some level with that one early on, but I also know that the Weinsteins took that movie pretty much out of the director's hands and shot things that he didn't even know were being shot.
It's a good-looking movie. It's a good-looking movie. It looks beautiful.
It's got some great blood spurts.
Yep.
Great use of music. It has elements. Agnes, I think Agnes is a really interesting, like the way that they
they go crazy with that one. Yeah.
But man, Billy, all the weird incest stuff and the skin cookies and the yellow skin, I just don't get it.
I know. Well, they just turned it into a regular modern day run-of-the-mill appeal to a general movie-going audience slasher movie. And that's fine. And you give credit where credit is due. At least they didn't just do the same thing over again. I mean, it is a different version, and it's not what I want from Black Christmas. But it's, I mean, it's watchable, but it's very different. It's very different. There's parallels, but it's very different.
I thought it was going to be, I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible because I just heard so many bad things about it. And then I watched it and I was like, okay, yeah, I was like pleasantly surprised with what worked for me. And then Black Christmas 2019 was just hilarious. So, you know, the less said about that, the better. I don't know why it's called Black Christmas, but
I don't either. I don't know.
But we're here to talk about your guys' movie.
Yes, yes.
And Oliver Mercer dropped 5 pounds. Thank you so much, Ollie. Really appreciate it, man. He says, if you guys had to choose out of Black Christmas and Halloween, which one would you ultimately keep? A difficult choice, I'm sure, for Dave. Yeah, that's really tough.
I keep? Oh,
and like keep is in like we're gonna delete one and only keep the other, I guess.
Yeah, you got to snap. You got to Thanos snap one of them out of existence.
Ooh.
Well, I mean,
does Halloween happen if Black Christmas doesn't happen?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, Halloween's my favorite horror movie of all time. So, you know, but you know what? I mean, I've watched Halloween so many times. I know it like I know all the lines. It's the kind of movie I can watch and go, yeah, I can say the lines as you know before they're about to happen. So in the spirit of what we're talking about today, I'll say I'll delete Halloween, just because I know it so well that I'm like, no, I think I'm good. You know, but although I love Black Christmas, I haven't watched it nearly as many times as I have Halloween. So I do know it very well, of course, but Black Christmas, I could get in there and probably watch it a few more times, you know, before I know it like Halloween. But Halloween's my favorite horror movie. But yeah, for the sake of the show, I'll say Black Christmas.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, I think Black Christmas it has this lasting impact, man, and it just man, I can't get my wife to watch it because of the stuff that Billy says on the phone. So
yeah, that was
unfortunately she also hasn't seen It's Me, Billy as a result. Because it just the real life stuff, like the stuff that seems more real life, which I think Black Christmas feels like an actual deranged serial killer in someone's house. Like
it's definitely more grounded for sure.
Yeah. And for me, I think that's one of those things that every time you revisit it, it just, you know, it ages so well as a result. Like it's just not so outlandish. And you know, Margot Kidder, she's got a foul, hilarious mouth in that one.
And this before she was Lois Lane.
Yeah. And I would imagine she was probably having a little bit of a nip on set. Maybe the bottle that Miss Mac pulls out of the toilet tank, maybe that was actually Margot Kidder in real life.
maybe no, I mean she was she hadn't hit. I mean Superman was what, 78, so this is 74, so this is 4 years. I mean once she became Lois Lane, it was like, you know, a huge star. She went Superman and then the Amityville Horror, and then, you know, she was off to the races. But at that time she was still, you know, not green, but she wasn't Margot Kidder yet. So it's kind of cool to see her before Superman.
Yeah, and her performance packs a punch in there as well.
It does.
Aaron Click says when Dave does the childlike portion of Billy's voice, he's imitating what he thinks his trolls sound like.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, I guess. There's a little bit of that. Oh yeah, and you had asked earlier, forgive me, I went off and I forgot. You'd asked if there's any sort of processing that goes on with Billy's voice. It depends on the voice. So I try to hit the high notes as best as I can, and then when we get them into the edit, if it feels like it needs to be pitched up a little bit, I'll pitch it up, like, but I mean like a notch, right? You know what I mean? So it kind of goes with the rest of the you know, the flow of the sequence. But I'm happy to say that there was very little that I had to do. Like there's no process. I've been doing this a long time, so there's very little processing that goes on. You know, I can usually hit all those high notes. It would just depend on whether or not it feels like it needs to be. We're not afraid to do that, but I didn't have to do it. So you know, there might have been one or whatever, but I can't remember which one. But yeah, and all those like you know, all that's, I mean, I can hit that. So you know, and of course you put it through the filter where it sounds like it's coming over the phone, and that can sometimes take care of it too. So now I was in my booth and I was ramming off all sorts of, and it's not all arbitrary either. It's not all just crazy sounds. There is a narrative that's in there as well, mixed in with the things that are being said. or all the, you know, the crazy stuff. So I had a good time with it, and thankfully most people that I know or that have given feedback have said that it really sounded and felt like, you know, the original Calls. So that's great, because of course taken up a notch. But that's great. You know, I'm glad they felt that way. But yeah, there wasn't any you know, like I didn't put any like compression on my voice or any sort of like filters to make me, you know, pitch me up like 1,000 degrees or anything like that. No, I didn't. I as a voice actor, I like authenticity. I don't like, even, you know, if like, I don't mind a pitch, like a notch up or a notch down, because the average person's not even going to know. But it does make a difference in the mix depending on how you're mixing it. It can, depending on the frequencies of where that little bit is going to fall. But I never, like, I don't like to pitch myself too often, because I like the authenticity of the performance. So
for sure.
Even Freddie in Dylan's New Nightmare, I was pitched like a notch lower. But again, I was adamant in talking, you know, to Cecil, I didn't want to lose the authenticity of my performance. And so yeah, it was like a notch. And when I say a notch, like if you think of it on a scale, right? If
like
you're at 0,
octave.
yeah, like if you're at 0 and you pitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like down, right? You know, it's going to go, hey, 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 you know, that kind of thing, right? And then a notch up, it's hey, 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 you know what I'm saying? So I always liked, if I'm like, okay, a notch, 0, 1 down or 1 up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, -1 or +1. I don't want to go -6. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's not me. You know what I mean?
Phony.
It's not me. So I like to preserve the authenticity of the performance as best as I can.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, man, especially with Freddie, like what they did in the remake, I feel like the vocal effect is one of the things that really makes that performance ultimately not really work, even though it's coming from a fantastic performer. You know, it's just one of those things that sort of takes you out. And then, yeah, of course, with, you know, with Billy, it's like you want people, just like everything else you guys are doing, you want it to feel like it's fits right into, you know, the original there as well.
That's it.
We got a $20 super chat,
Hey,
$19.99 from Nightly here. Says, hey, Davey, Bruce, and Dave, checking in from the hospital from surgery. Super pumped for the IMB 2 premiere. I should be home in time for it, and we'll circle back to listen to this stream at some point. Hope y'all are doing well.
Amazing. Nightly, hope you're doing well, buddy. Nightly was an executive producer on Chapter 1. He's a producer on Chapter 2. So Nightly's been a huge supporter. He's awesome, Nightly. And yeah, big shout out to you and your dad. I met Nightly and his dad. Well, I met them when we shot Dylan's New Nightmare, and I also met them again at Mad Monster. So
sweet.
Cool. Yeah, they're awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, big shout out to Nightly. Yeah, we're sending you much love and healing support, dude. Like,
absolutely, you got this.
Yeah. Like I can only imagine. So, yeah, hang in there, man, and you'll get through it.
Yeah, I hope the recovery goes well. And are you out here in the Phoenix area Nightly? If so,
no, I think they're our way. I think they're in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
But he flew out to. Well, he flew out to be on the set of Dylan's New Nightmare because he was an executive producer on that. I think. Don't quote me on that. And then I think they just flew to Mad Monster to watch the premiere. So I think they're in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken.
And he was an executive producer on Never Hike Alone too, because he's in it.
Never Hike in the Snow.
In the Snow. Okay, my mistake.
Because he played Jason in Never Hike in the Snow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, young Jason.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I've seen your name all over. Isn't he in Dylan's New Nightmare? Is he in that shot of the hallway with all the actors sitting down and everything as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Nightly's sneaky, man. He gets around. He gets around. Yeah.
In Chapter 1 of It's Me, Billy, you'll see his photo up on the mantle of the fireplace when Sam walks up to it and she's looking at her grandmother's picture.
Wow.
You see him in the background, and then the other picture behind him is actually Dave's parents.
That's right. Yeah, we because we shot Chapter 1 during COVID and travel was, next to impossible. Yeah. We were going to have Nightly in the movie,
Yeah.
because that was one of the things for chapter 1. But we all agreed that we just couldn't. It had to be a closed set because of COVID,
Yeah.
and so one way of getting Knightley in the movie was a photograph. So he's in there on the mantle. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for the 1999 Nightly. Yeah, I hope your recovery goes well. And yeah, we'll see you there at the online premiere. Absolutely. I know I'll be there.
Can't believe it's in a few days.
Yeah, this Sunday.
I know.
Better get it. Gotta get it ready. You gotta tie up those loose.
I know.
Pull an all-nighter. You guys both took naps for this discussion. So
I've been nonstop today. Is all I've been doing. All I've been doing. Yeah, it's crazy. We're perfectionists.
That's great. And it's I mean, it shows in the first chapter, and I think the second chapter, at least everything that I've seen, it's looking even more fine-tuned, you know, coming back with that crew, having that, you know, work experience before with each other and that chemistry. I think that the second chapter, you know, can really tie things up nicely. So I'm really looking forward to it. And like Coy says here, Happy Sanjo, our guy, says, "It's Me, Billy 1 and 2 as a project goes is incredibly inspiring. Thanks so much for the gift these films are. Can't wait for the original stories next." And I guess that's a good segue to talk about Dark Chapters Pictures. Dark Chapter Pictures?
Yeah, Dark Chapter Pictures. Yeah.
Dark Chapter Pictures. And what you guys are going to be moving on to next, because, you know, Dave, you get asked about it every now and again on your channel. So you've kind of gone into, you know, there's going to be some projects where you're taking the lead, some projects where Bruce is taking the lead. Do you guys have like, you know, Bruce, do you have a stack of ideas that you want to go towards after this? And then Dave, same question for you.
Yeah, well, we've got, yes. So short answer is yes. There's some story ideas that I've got. Nothing I'm going to share any detail on because I don't want anybody biting the work. But just going to be straight on that. But
good night, everybody.
Yeah. But yeah. No, we've got a number of ideas for, you know, like there's like an anthology series, something that could exist as a limited run on like a Netflix or some sort of streaming service. We've got, you know, some feature film ideas. There's one idea that I've got that could exist as a feature film and or be broken down into, again, maybe it's a limited series. Lots of opportunity, I think very relevant, you know, making social commentary. It's a science fiction piece, science fiction drama, I would say, if I had to put a label on it, and but highly relevant. And one of those pieces that would be multi-layered on a social level, where it's making social commentary. It's going to challenge the audience to have some conversation around things. But again, you know, I would want it to be palpable. I want it to be commercially viable. I want it to be interesting and engaging. You know, that's one of my favorite filmmakers is Christopher Nolan, because I think he does an excellent job with his work at striking the balance between creating content that is cerebral. You know, it might challenge the way that you think about certain things, but then at the same time, it's you know, it's commercial. You know, in terms of you have an entry point, it's commercially successful. People can still relate to it. I know not everybody likes his work. Some people find it too heady. I'm not going that far. It's not, you know what I mean? But I just kind of use him as an example. You know, even if you think of the Dark Knight series that he did, right? And you know, if you're familiar with Memento, you know, one of his earlier pieces, again, such a fantastic director and storyteller. Inception's one of my favorite movies, I think, of all time. I think, so just interested and thinking about other avenues that the story can go, you know, because it sometimes in the filmmaking world, it's not just about the movie or the TV series, but what else can you do with the story? And are there certain aspects that can be told through other means? And having a love for visual art, you know, maybe there's some other opportunities there, whatever that might be, whether it's an art show, or comic book series or
Mm-hmm.
what have you. So I would say, certainly, and I'll let Dave speak to, of course, on his end, but there's no shortage of ideas. I'll say that. And we have a feature film idea that we've written a treatment for, that, would be ready to go in terms of ready to take another look at it, another pass, to pitch to fellow producers, to try to secure some funding to produce it, and that might be the next project. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be something else. It just depends on how things go, over the next little bit and what opportunities arise. And yeah, you just never know, right? So we kind of move forward with the vision, the dream, the idea, and then at the same time walk forward with that expectation and just see where things go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I've often been asked, is there going to be a Billy 3? And the short answer and the long answer is no. I've been asked, I should do this fan film or that fan film or this fan film or that fan film. And I appreciate, the passion from fans. And I think, I think there's a lot of fans out there that are jaded and upset that they're not getting, good quality films in their beloved properties from the studios. And so I can recognize why, God, you did this with Billy. Can you do that with Halloween? Can you do that with, with My Bloody Valentine? Can you do that with, and then just on and on and on. And if we could get paid, if we could make money, sure, why not? But you can't make a living as a filmmaker making fan films, and it's because you don't own the intellectual property. So in order to be able to move to the next level in terms of making original work and getting paid, that's the next step. I've been asked if we're always going to work, together and direct together. And the short answer is no. The longer answer is, Bruce and I, we love working together, and we don't always agree on everything, which is great because we challenge each other's ideas all the time, which is really good. I think we make each other better, which is always great because we think about things like, oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, I don't want to think about that, but that's a good point. I should think about that. But it's true, right? And then, but like as Bruce said, we have our own projects. So I think, like I would love to have the experience again, at this level. Solo directing, I think, is important. I think having that experience solo directing is only going to make us better co-directors as well, because we have that experience coming together and being able to sort of lean on that experience and bring it, together in a joint project as well. So, it's the fan films will be done. This will be it. Because, when you make the two Billy films in the ways that we did, again, they're fan films because we have to put the fan film label on it only because we don't own the intellectual property. They're not fan films in the stereotypical stigma way that fan films are, right? In your backyard with your friends and your dad's camcorder. So we can't continue to make films at this level and not get paid. It's way too much work. It's you're dealing with unions and actors and guilds and they're real films. So it's too much work to not get paid and then not to do our best to seek, distribution and see where it can go, maybe to Prime or to Netflix or to Shudder or, wherever. Right. Yeah. And so, the Billy films were great because they allowed us to, as I said at the beginning of the show, allowed us to massage and noodle our ideas and flex our muscles in a less competitive environment, because we're only working against ourselves at that point. And I think that's what really is so great, even though we're, making them at a very high level. So now that we have this experience, I feel that we're ready now to move away from the less demanding, competitive, we can set our own fucking deadline, kind of thing. And now really kind of see, what we can do with original IP and work with other production companies and producers and really kind of, make a go of something that we can make something original, whether that's together or solo, and seek distribution and play festivals. Not that you can't play festivals with Billy, but I mean, play festivals with the hope of potentially getting distribution through that. And maybe it'll wind up on a streaming service near you. So that's the next step. Because again, we want to make a living doing this, and really see what we can do. So for me, there's two ideas that I'm excited about. One is the idea that Bruce sort of talked about the joint project that we have. We do have a treatment for it. It's a treatment that we'll probably want to go over again and sort of fine tune and polish. And we did have some interest in that a couple years ago, which was very exciting for us. And that's a really exciting. I'm very excited about that. Every time we talk about it, we're like, oh, it is dripping with mood and atmosphere. And that was one of the notes that actually this producer who had read it, we had a talk because he was very impressed with the Billy film. And it was with a studio that you would know, but we keep it on the back burner because that door is still open. That project's not moving forward yet. So we don't know what's happening. But it was with somebody who liked us and was very impressed with what we were able to do with the film, and he was blown away that it only cost $64,000. And so, but one of the notes he gave us when he read the treatment, he was like, "This is fantastic." One of the notes was, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, it's definitely dripping in mood and atmosphere. It was just reading it. And so it was like, I can see that you guys really love the mood and the tension and the atmosphere. So that's a project that we're very excited about. And definitely, whether it's with this individual or somebody else, we definitely want to move forward with, because it's just, every time we talk about it, we're like, oh yeah, that's going to be good.
You guys start dripping with mood and atmosphere.
Yes, exactly. Every time we talk about Bruce and I get like, yeah, that's right.
We can just imagine it.
Each other
it's
like
just
this.
it's so vivid in our minds. Like we're just
Yeah.
And the shots, we've talked about shots. Like, oh yeah. We just had, it's great. And then of course, there's the one that I have talked about on my own channel, which is Port Robinson Road, which is based on an experience that I had in my second year of college. It's a paranormal film, but it's not a run of the mill sort of paint by numbers paranormal film. It's a little more elevated, it's a little more cerebral. There's some meat on the bone, but it's based on a true story. And so that's a film that I've been working on, here and there, for, almost 25 years. So that is something that I'm uber excited about, but that's something that I would direct solo. I would want Bruce to come on as a producer, and but that's something that because it's a personal project, and so I really want to hone in on my vision for it and all that kind of stuff. And but it's one of my babies, you know what I mean? And so definitely something that I hope to do in the near future as well. So and then there's another one that I have, is an idea I have about this. It deals with space and time dilation and galaxies and things like that. I can't go too deep into, but that would make a great maybe limited series as well, potentially. Be a good movie, but maybe better as a series. So there's ideas that we do have, for sure. Whether any of those will be the next thing, I don't know yet. But, but certainly we're ready.
Yeah, because as you could be writing a piece of music and you're going after this particular song, or you're trying to write a story for this short film or this project, and along that journey, you write 5 other songs, you write 5 other stories, before you finally landed it, and it evolves and changes. So, just to build off what Dave is saying,
that was a great point. That's so true.
It's so I don't know. We're excited. There's lots of thought, lots of ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how creativity works like that, where you'll be like, this is the thing that I've decided I'm going to do. And then this little worm comes in and is like, well, this is actually what's going to happen. Like,
Yes.
I've had ideas where I'm like, man, I love this like one little riff I came up with, but I can't figure out the rest. It's like an equation you can't figure out.
Yes.
And then there's some songs where I've sat down and been like, in a half hour, the whole thing's like done, at
Yes.
least the guitar part and the vocal. And it's like, then it's about just filling in the space. It's wild how creativity can work like that. But I mean, you guys will have the benefit once chapter 2 is done, you'll have a complete piece that is going to act as a really, really impressive business card, right? To be able to put out there for folks, and people will see what you can really do, not only just with one short film, but with how you connect those stories together and ultimately connect it with the original Black Christmas as well.
Yeah.
So that should bode well for you. But Josh McKenna has a very important question here. I know there are some missing person photos in the movie, but are there any missing goose photos that Victoria, aka Sam, ran over?
Oh my goodness, that's a deep cut there, Josh.
Yeah,
that's a deep cut. Yeah, that's that goes back to one of our, I don't know if it was one of our Billy-a-thons we did when we were raising money for the first chapter, but we had Victoria Miro, who plays Sam in the movie. She was on one of our shows, and she told a story. I think maybe somebody had asked her to tell a funny story about her or something, or I don't know what the context of why she told it, but it was years ago. She told a story about how she was going to an audition somewhere, and she's confident she ran over a goose on the highway. And it became a funny sort of inside joke. And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, I'm positive I did. Oh my God. So it was just kind of a funny, that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. That's
deep cut, Josh. Thank you so much for the $9.99, man. And Aaron asks Bruce and Dave, what would Knightley's cameo have been if he had been able to be in it live action? In other words, what role would he have played?
Great. So there was a couple of ideas that we had. Bruce can back me up on this if I'm misremembering. But so we initially, the opening of the film, there was going to be a couple of different openings. So It's Me Billy Chapter 1 was going to open with the Black Christmas house. That's what we wanted to do. Because if you watch the original Black Christmas, it ends with the house. And the very last thing, see, people nothing is arbitrary here, folks. We go deep. The very last, and maybe this will make you look at the movies a bit differently. The very last thing that you hear in the original Black Christmas, the last sentence, the last words uttered before that camera backs out of the attic and backs out and you see the cop on the porch and the credits begin to roll and the phone begins to ring. The very last thing you hear is Billy say, "It's me, Billy." It's the last thing, which is the title of, the next movie. Right. And of course, the last thing you see is the house. It's pulling out and there's the house. Well, we wanted to mirror that, where the first thing you see is we open up and there's the house. You know what I mean? And of course, in those days, in 1974, it was probably a crane shot. Ours probably would have been a drone, but it would have been mirroring that. And then you would have seen Sam walking up the sidewalk. And she was going to go to the house and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we did not get permission to shoot at the house. So one of the things we were also going to do is we were going to have, instead of the girls having that conversation on the side of the road in the car, we were going to have them in a diner. And they were going to be sitting in a diner and they were going to be having that conversation in a diner on their way up to Grandma's house. Well, Knightley was going to play one of the diner patrons. So he was going to be in the background, gonna have a cameo, that kind of thing, which is really cool. Maybe we starred on him. He orders, I don't know, chocolate milk, maybe, because I love chocolate milk. So maybe I get Knightley. You know what I mean? And he orders something and he says, thank you, whatever. And then, the camera tracks over to, the girls or something. We hadn't laid out the shots, but those are the things that we were kind of thinking of to get Knightley in there. But of course, that didn't happen because all the restaurants were closed because of COVID. So we had to pivot again. And that's why the conversation ended up on the side of the road in the car, which totally works. And then Knightley was actually going to be, when the girls get to the house, I believe, Bruce. Knightley was going to be like a neighbor that kind of shows up or something and asks a question or something. He was going to have some sort of cameo as one of the neighbors on the street or something like that, or
you got any chocolate milk over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I borrow a cup of chocolate milk?
Exactly. Got to get the chocolate milk in there.
Yeah.
But that's what he would have been. Yeah, it would have been something like that. So it would have been fun. It would have been fun.
Yeah. And Raymond says all the Victoria and all the other girls in IMB1, you got diamonds in the rough. They were all great. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, super, super talented group of ladies. Yeah, Shelby's gone on to do, there's a recent film that was just released. It's available on demand called Cheat. And Malika, Malika's just blown up with all kinds of shows that she's been in and projects. She did Bria Mack, It's a Life, and what was it? They just released Law and Order Toronto. It's a new series. I don't know if it started to air or not, but she's in one or two of the episodes there. And then there was something else that she had posted about.
There's a Fox show that she's on an episode of right now.
That's it. So
nice.
Yeah. So she's really.
Hell yeah.
So proud of her. I love that girl. I love them all. Like they're just all like, you cannot work with these girls and not think they're just amazing, because they are. And they're just so like in front of the camera and behind the camera. They're just uber amazing and so much fun.
Yeah, just
I want to work with all three of them again in some project. I don't know what yet, but something.
Same. Yeah.
The chemistry, like, you know, when they're sitting around the table and everything, like giving each other shit, I felt like that was really natural. And it's always great to see people, you know, be able to progress with their work and take on, you know, new projects and get to sort of stretch and show what they can do. And you know, show business is really difficult stuff. So anytime you see people have really any level of success, it's really encouraging and awesome to see, for sure. So Law and Order Toronto, I didn't even know. Are there other Law and Order Canada? Is there like Law and Order
first, I think.
Montreal? Or
no, I think it's the first. I think it's the first of that.
All right.
So it's I remember watching the show like way back. I guess it's original iteration, and it was
that's been on for decades now, right? They have so many different Law and Orders. It's crazy. Between Law and Order, NCIS, and CSI. It's like every time you turn on a TV, it's everyone wants to watch people that are like cops or emergency services. They want to watch doctors, firefighters, and cops, and that's it. That seems to just dominate television. What the heck's going on?
That's it. Now we just got to put them in different genres.
That's right.
There you go. Exactly. There should be, instead of doing that 911 show, it should be like 911 zombies. You know, like something like that.
911 strippers. No.
Hey, Tom, can you help me out? The stripper got another thing stuck in a thing. So you guys are both in the Toronto area, right?
We are. Yeah.
In the GTA, the Greater Toronto area. Are you guys familiar with, and I keep on forgetting to bring this up when you're on streaming, Dave, but are you guys fans of The Band? Are you guys familiar with this group from Toronto?
They're called The Band?
The Band. They were, so one of them is from the States, but everyone else is Canadian. Robbie Robertson was the lead guy, the guy that like wrote every song. He wasn't necessarily the singer, but he was the writer. They've got all these hits you would probably recognize, but I think they ended up being called The Band because they toured with Bob Dylan like way back. They were like his original band, and they're like, well, what do we call ourselves? And they're like, well, I don't know, we're just The Band. And I shit you not, I bring this up because I know you guys are proud Canadians, and I'm proud of you. The Band is so friggin' good. They are arguably the greatest rock and roll band of all time. I'm not even joking. So, you know, as proud Canadians that are very proud of the Black Christmas heritage there in Toronto, you should check out The Band. They're really, really fun.
All right. I'll have to check them out.
All right.
Once you hear a couple songs, you'll be like, oh yeah, I hear this song all over the place.
Okay.
Really fun shit. That was like one thing in my head where I was like, Davey, talk about their movie and everything, but don't forget to mention The Band.
The Band.
They're based out of Toronto, you were saying? They're based out of Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like, I think most of them have passed away at this point, but they were, kicked it off in the 60s, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, they, toured with Bob Dylan way back when.
Right.
Then they started putting out
There's
their
no
own
doubt I've heard
records.
their songs. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got songs like Cripple Creek and The Wait. They've got, I'm trying to think of others right now. I mean, they did this concert in San Francisco called The Last Waltz that was like, they knew they were breaking up. So they did like 2 nights in a row or something like that. And they brought all these people, like dozens of artists came and performed with them on stage. It's this epic show.
Cool.
Really, really good stuff. So just wanted to pass that on.
I'm gonna check them out. I'm gonna check them out.
As a fellow almost Canadian, I know I'm from
You're
Alaska.
You're
Sorry, but I'm almost Canadian. Enough
right.
people have accused me of being so.
Well, there you go.
I used to have people. I worked at a record store in my hometown, and people would be like, "Do you take American money?" I'm like, "Yeah, where do you think we are?" Yeah, like, I thought we were Canada. I even had somebody on the phone that was like, they called us, and they're like, "Oh, you're in Alaska, so you're in Canada," and I was like, "No." They're like, "But you're so close," and I go, "Where do you live?" And they're like, "I'm in Texas," and I go, "Oh, so you're Mexico?" And they're like, "Wow." And I told them, I was like, "Don't you see the kind of logic I'm using here?"
It's true. It's true.
Love it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, this has been an absolute blast chatting with you guys. We've been going on for about an hour and a half. I know it's late out there and you guys have been working your asses off finishing this film that we're all so pumped to check out. I do want to mention, while you guys are still with us hanging out here, that there are links in the description below. So if you guys want to go follow Dave or follow Bruce at the social or on their socials, or give Dave's channel a sub. I mean, if you're over here and you're not subbed to Dave, you are watching the wrong Dave. You need to go watch Dave McRae. He's like this close, teetering on 30,000 subs. Dave, I feel like I've been watching you at like 29 point something for a while, and I'm like, when this guy deserves that 30 and that 40 and everything else.
I know if I did more movie reviews, I think I would be well over that. But I've been so busy that I post sporadically, so the algorithm doesn't like me at the moment.
I'm kind of the same way, where I'm like, I don't mind doing reviews, but there's so many people out there that do a really good job of it. And like, I'd rather do something like this and carve out my own space and hang out with everyone live in the chat and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, guys, not only can you check out the film and the socials, you can also hop on over to the Indiegogo campaign. It is still open for It's Me Billy Chapter 2. So that link is in the description below. And if you're watching this after the film has come out, I will also add a link for Chapter 2 there as well. So yeah, I'm super pumped. Be hanging out with you guys here on Sunday, checking out the, I don't know, what is it called? The special screening, the producer only screening, the something.
The online advanced world premiere.
Yes,
there it is.
We had to make that shit sound official.
Yes.
It's officially official.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's this Sunday at 7:30 Eastern.
Yeah. We got so anybody that's bought the perk, the advanced screening, or if they signed up as a producer, they've got that automatically included. So for those that don't know, we're going to be screening the film to that private audience. We will have some members of the cast present at the screening too. So hopefully we'll have a chance to do a bit of a Q&A afterward. And yeah, it's super cool. Like I'm really excited. Nervous as well, of course, just because you're never sure how someone's going to react to your work. You hope that they're going to love it, but
because everybody has their own expectations of what they want, what they hope is going to happen,
what they imagine, what they see.
And if you don't meet those expectations, and then of course there are always those that think we're churning out Terrifier, and I don't mean a knock on Terrifier, but I mean in terms of like the blood and the gore and the killing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that's
not that kind of film.
Kind of movie.
No.
This kind of movie.
Different movie.
Yeah, completely different film. Ours is more psychological. So
yeah, and more of that grounded kind of look. I think that's more disturbing. Even like the that first kill in Texas Chainsaw Massacre always gives me the heebie-jeebies, because it's just, there's no blood, there's the twitching with the blunt force of the hammer, and to me I'm just like, looks a little too real, you know, like, you know, in a great way. So yeah, I think that anyone that's giving you shit about the gore, it's like, go watch Black Christmas and come back.
Yeah.
You know, acclimate yourself. Not everything can be
Well,
Terrifier.
and again, that's intentional. I mean, there was somebody that I forget who it was, but somebody had reached out. This is a long time ago, with the first movie, and they had said, I guess, the death scene. I'll just say, in case you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil the whole thing, but the death scene, one of the death scenes in our film, the way we chose to shoot that, and how it was stylized was intentional. We chose to show the stabbing happening, but not show any penetration or piercing or blood or anything like that from the blade, from the tool that was being used. And there was somebody that said, I guess, you didn't show it because, you didn't have the budget to do that. And I said, well, I have two thoughts on that. Number one is, you're right. We didn't have the budget to show a big, huge spectacle, but it wasn't because we didn't have the budget. It was because we chose to allocate the money somewhere else. And this is it's a creative intention, because it's a certain style of filmmaking. It's Hitchcock. And so it's theater of the mind. So when you see, the person being killed, you're not seeing that's not because, well, I guess we just have to do it this way. No, we chose to do it that way on purpose.
Yeah.
And so
yeah. I was just going to say that particular shot that Dave's referring to, when we were coming up with the idea for that, the main source of inspiration, like when I was saying to Dave, I think we should film it. It's a low angle shot where you're tracking at the base of the bed. And just for reference for folks, but there was an art show that I saw back in high school, and it was two different artists that had print works, and one was Otto Dix, who was a former World War II veteran. Maybe, I think it was World War II. And then there was Francisco Goya, who was from he lived during the days of the Spanish Revolution. Both of them, their artwork was depicting the horrors of war and the torture and things that had happened to people. And it was an exhibit that really sat with me, because there were some images that just got engraved in my brain, because they were, I'll say that they were graphic in nature, not graphic necessarily because you saw blood, guts, and gore, but the depiction, the way that the artist, just depicted the imagery. It was
the
just
power of suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there was one print from Otto Dix in particular that the angle from where it was shot and what was kind of going on, it was a large source of inspiration for how we did this shot. And I think it helped, there was a definite power to it, and it was, I think, very effective. And, like to Dave's point, like Hitchcock, you don't always have to show the explicit for it to be moving, for it to captivate you, for it to grip you, for you to get the same resonance, that you would have with something else, right? And so, we tend to take more of that approach sometimes, and because we want it to be grounded in reality. It helps with that. It makes it more psychological.
That's right. And the sound as well. The sound carries that scene, and hearing her scream and hearing him attacking her is I think, in my mind, far more powerful than seeing her being torn apart. So
yeah, sound design is, man, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I think sound is more important in film than the visuals, even though film is a visual medium. It's that, because you can close your eyes and imagine what something looks like if you can hear the sound. But if it's flipped the other way, if you just see something, it's more difficult to imagine the sound, you know, and to find there's something so visceral about sound, especially when it comes to, this kind of material. And I mean, it's really interesting what you said there, Bruce, because it's like, I think it was, Michelangelo would say, like, I don't have an idea of like what I want to sculpt. It's like the piece of stone like tells me what's inside there, and I have to like find it, you know. And it's sort of like the way you guys are talking about It's Me Billy is like each project sort of dictates to you, or if you're listening and you're thinking about it the right way, it sort of informs you which way to go. So not, maybe there is a project that's more graphic, but It's Me Billy ain't it, you know. And it's like it's really awesome that you guys have that compass, and that you know, have the wherewithal, and you know, bringing everything technically and from your fandom to know how to handle that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's a, like I said, like we said earlier. I mean, it is about. I mean, we could have made a Black Christmas sequel that was a slasher film with blood, guts, and gore. We could have done that. We're not incapable of doing that, but it doesn't make any sense. You know, we want, like you said, want it to feel connected to that first film. It wouldn't feel right to me to have it so violent.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why we didn't do it.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, I think that like Claire kill in the original is one of the creepiest moments in cinematic history for me, and that's about as cool as it gets right there.
We'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to Lynn Griffin, who is reprising her role. Not reprising her role. Excuse me. Coming back to the franchise. She can't reprise her role. She's dead. But she's coming back to play the role that she played in the original film. She's coming back to play Claire's sister. And so Lynn is fantastic in this movie. She's just great. And it was, you know, awesome, you know, to have her there and to have that connective tissue as well. You know, it's just
cool
great
being able to work with her. It was cool on set to kind of just see her doing her thing, right? And in the trailer, you see shots of a scene with her, and the gentleman's name is Glenn. In real life, that's the actor's name, and he plays Detective Henny in chapter 2. And so you see them talking in the trailer, and getting to work with the two of them and watching them do their thing was a real treat. Like it was, I learned a lot for sure, you know. And learned a shit ton. It was cool. It was great.
Their moment in that trailer is just really, it's such a nice little seed of, like, you know, giving you a hint of where the story could go there. And I think she even mentions that how long it was until they found Claire, because that's one thing I always wonder. I'm like, these are the worst cops ever in the original. But I'm like, they never checked the attic. Never. There's this girl frozen up there.
And the house mother. The house mother, and I think Claude the cat. Wait, did he kill Claude the cat? I can't remember now. But the house mother and Claire are in the attic. That's right. And no, she does say that. She says, what does she say? I'm trying to think it now. 50. I can't remember now. I've been watching it so many times I can't remember now. I don't know. Anyways, it's been 3 days. 3 days. Her sister was stuck in that attic with a plastic. For 3 days, she's stuck in that attic with a plastic bag over her head. So she was up there for 3 days before they found her. She probably started to smell. It was the smell that did it, I think.
Those terrible movie cops. Even John Saxon, he should know better. He's a cop in every movie. I mean,
he is. He went on to be a cop in Elm Street, for God's sakes. I mean, what the hell?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, he was the dad in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Hell yeah. Well, we are so pumped to check this out. Aaron Click saying, everyone make sure you watch It's Me Billy Chapter 2 the weekend it releases and share it on social media.
Agreed.
Raymond is going to watch both that day. I think I'm going to try to do the day of the advanced screening. I'm going to do Black Christmas, It's Me Billy, and line it up to be able to jump right into Chapter 2 so I can be super fresh and dripping with mood and atmosphere amongst other things.
Love it.
I'm never going to let that one go.
I think it'll be a better experience for people if you, like I said, if you watch Chapter 1, even if you've seen Chapter 1, but you haven't seen it since it came out, watch it again and then watch Chapter 2. It'll just feel, because it basically is just the last half of the movie, right? You know what I mean? Like the last half of the story.
Finish of the story.
Like it picks up immediately where the first one left off, like a Halloween 1, Halloween 2 thing. So I think it'll be more fulfilling for an audience to have that reference, because if you if you've seen Billy, but you saw it 3 years ago once and you kind of remember it, but not really, watching chapter 2 might leave you a little confused. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Depends how much you remember, but I think it'll be more fulfilling that way.
Yeah, you
for
want
sure.
that little bit of warm up there, you
Yeah.
know, and just being able to sort of settle back into that world, I think,
Yes.
you know, before jumping into the conclusion. Which is going to be epic if the trailer is any indication. You guys,
Let's see.
man, seemingly have knocked it out of the park here. Really, really appreciate what you guys do. I'm so excited to see what comes up next for y'all, because it will be really cool to see, you know, some of those original ideas come out, because you guys really have, you know, fine-tuned your approach here. I can tell that Billy 2 has a little bit of a, you know, snappier look to it than the first chapter. And so really excited to see how that story wraps up and to follow your guys' career from there. So thank you so much for hanging out with us for, holy cow, about an hour and 45 minutes with Bruce Dale and Dave McRae, the co-writers and co-directors of It's Me, Billy and It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. Follow the links in the description below, folks, if you want to check out their socials, check out the film, and of course, contribute to the crowdfunding campaign. You guys have anything to say before we sign off here for the evening?
I just want to give a big shout out to our entire cast and crew, Greg, Lynn, just everybody on the cast. And the crew, again, just amazing to work with those people. Everybody brought their A game every time, and it was a real pleasure to, you know, work with them all. You know, we couldn't have achieved what you're going to see and hear without them.
Correct.
Definitely a real team effort, you know. And yeah, it's been awesome working with Dave and just, you know, making this magic come to life. So yeah, super thankful. That's awesome.
Yeah, I would just say that again. I echo what Bruce has said, and also a big thank you to all the backers who stepped up and donated to the campaign. Between the two movies, Billy 1 and Billy 2, we've raised about 220,000 Canadian dollars, which is about, I don't know what that is in US dollars, maybe 130. Somebody do the math who's in the chat. 130, 140,000 maybe. Maybe it's a little higher than that. I'm not sure. It's probably a little higher than that actually. US dollars, but it was a humbling experience because it's a Black Christmas fan film, and to see people step up to the plate and donate that much, you know, between the two films, we could not have made the movie without you. You know, this is we could, when you're shooting at this level, you need money. So and if you don't have that money, you can't hire the people you want to hire, or rent the equipment you want to rent, or shoot on the cameras you want to shoot on, and hire professionals, and so we couldn't have done it without you. And it was a very humbling, moving experience. And it's you know, I mean, as sad as it will be to put the project behind us, there's a video on my channel if you guys want to check this out. Just type in Dave McRae, It's Me, Billy. Of course, you're going to get a lot of shit. I'm trying to think of the announcement or something. Maybe type in there's a video from 2019. It's from July 2019. I'm sitting not where I am now. I think I'm shooting it on my phone. Or maybe it's my webcam. But anyway, it's an older video, and I think the video begins with me going, "Well, folks, I'm excited." And it's me announcing that I've entered into development with my friend Bruce, who at that time, very few of you even knew who he was, and that we were entering into development on a Black Christmas fan film, and how excited I am. And it's from, I believe it's from the 4th of July, actually, of 2019. And so we've been working on this now for, you know, I mean, nearly 5.5 years, and between the two films, and, you know, that's a lot. And it's, you know, it's kind of, you know, you're like, if we're fine, you know, we're putting this to bed now. It's finally going to be over. And so there's a bit of like, I feel kind of sad, but we've met so many wonderful people. We've made connections, and it wouldn't have been possible without the donors. No, you know, in terms of being able to allow us to have the funds to be able to put forth into the project. And and I'm excited to be able to move on now to other films. So it's yeah. So again, just a big shout out to everybody who supported us and has helped us see these two films, this big gigantic project that's about to come to an end. So it's really cool.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm pumped. I'm proud to be one of the many backers. Your streams doing all of that was just epic. The you know, jumping on and doing like the Jerry Lewis thing felt like it was a few times a week there. But you know, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'll take all the Dave McRae I can get. Who am I kidding now?
It worked. It worked. It was 20 live. It was 20 live streams in 60 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Just pure props to Dave. Yeah,
I was an animal. I was like, we are making this movie. I don't care.
I'm like hustling in the background, doing other things, and you know, working together to make it all happen. It was cool.
Well, and what's great is like it just shows that there are so many people out there that, you know, they're picking up the same thing that I pick up when I watch your channel, Dave. It's not that you have just the experience from being in the industry. It's that you've got like the love and passion of a fan, and you know what makes a good story, you know, which I just like, and you put that out there almost every time. Well, every time you're on your channel talking about it, it all like the way that you talk about storytelling is like, yeah, this makes sense. This is the way stories should be.
Give me the money and we'll see.
and people can disagree and all that stuff about like art and all that, but I do think there's certain things about storytelling that it's like, no, there is a way to do these things. And so I think it's one of those, you know, there ain't 30,000 people, or there ain't 30,000 copies of me that are all subbing out there. So there's, you know, so much great support, and just really pumped for, you know, what you guys have put together here. I keep on saying it on the channel whenever I talk about fan films. It seems like the bar just keeps on getting raised every single time. You know, it was Never Hike Alone, then Dylan's New Nightmare, and now you guys are capping off your Black Christmas you know, fan film story. And so it'll be exciting to see who the next crop of fan filmmakers are going to be, and even more exciting to watch you guys do your own stories. So
and I hope the bar continues to be raised. Like, I mean, it's really cool to be a part of, you know, now that we're leaving the fan film sort of, you know, club. I guess we'll always be a part of the club, but I mean, you know, we're moving on to you know, original projects. It's if you have the passion and you want to, you know, make your own version of something, go out and do it. You know, go out and do it, and but you have to have that passion. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's been a cool journey, a very cool experience. Not over yet. We still got a couple of weeks. Well, maybe a couple of months, because there's Christmas.
We'll see. We'll see where things go even into next year.
Well, but then of course also into next year we are planning on butting the two films together at some point, and releasing a feature-length film where it's just one movie. That's the movie. That's the version we will submit to festivals. So Billy will still be around in 2025. Not quite at the forefront like it is now, but in the background. But we do want to put the two films together for an ultimate sort of Billy cut, you know. So
it should be cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. 9 days away from our airing right now. If you're watching this after the fact and the film is out already, you can find the link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for kicking it with us. Just wanted to leave with Chris Snyder's little message here that he sent. I'm really happy for you guys in the home stretch now. I'm glad to be a part of that journey in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you,
really
everybody.
Cool.
It's been dope.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Best of luck on the sprint to the finish here. Hopefully it can all be wrapped up by Saturday sometime, so it's all good to go for that Sunday screen.
I hope so.
We'll do it.
I'll check in and make sure it's going okay.
All right. Thanks, Davey, for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
All right. Cheers.
See you.